Hi, I want to give you some ideas how to make your critical response as good as it can be. You might want to get your own paper where you can look at it, your textbook, and there is a sheet that is on learning materials. This is the critical response assignment, and I want to guide you through this. I want you to give me what I'm looking for. Now, what you need to be doing as you're writing is write in multiple phases. At this point, hopefully you've written a draft that actually maybe isn't just a rough draft. Hopefully you've looked at it and changed a few things. And each time we look at something we've written is an opportunity to move it closer to perfection. I have never written anything I consider finished. I just consider everything or many of the things I've written done. Eventually you have to quit. There's a deadline. So there's life moves on. There isn't a thing I've written where if you were to hand it to me, I wouldn't find something to change and improve. Well, you have to honor that part of the process. The first times we're revising, we're trying to get the ideas straight, and then we move to smaller details. I, in this sheet, have given you specifics about what you should be doing. If you look content, this is at the idea level what you should be doing. Look at your paper. You need to have an introduction that has the author's title, the article's title, author's full name, place and date of publication, and a concise summary. That should be your first paragraph. Now the sample, which you could read, 271 to 276, look at it. Look at the way that she wrote that. Now, I'm telling you to look at samples, that doesn't mean you lift phrases and whatnot, but you can see the way that it was done. And she very neatly, concisely gives the title, the author, place and date of publication, and some sort of main idea statement needs to be there. Your job is to present the main idea, major details. Make sure you have the main idea and major details. That will be complete. It needs to be concise. That means you don't give me things that shouldn't be there. It's just the main idea, major details. Do not add in minor details, too much elaboration. Do not put your opinion in this. That is not what a summary is for. A summary is simply what the author was presenting with none of your commentary. So make sure that you do that, and then you'll be moving through the body of your paper where you're going to present specific point through paraphrase, meaningful quotes, and remember the 10% rule of thumb. You can't quote more than 10% in a paper. So be strategic with that, but completely present Bonnie Christian's idea. It's your pick, whatever you want to pick. Something that you found interesting from that plan sheet. Hopefully you've written about it. But look, make sure each paragraph in the body is presenting a specific point, and each paragraph is providing some kind of thought-provoking reaction to the text. And it's not a reaction to the subject. Now, in doing these paragraphs, you can certainly integrate here your opinions. The first paragraph summary, your opinions certainly, most definitely need to come into play. And those opinions and even your own experience, briefly, concisely, you can tell some anecdotes, stories of your life or someone else's that enhance the text, not overshadow it. What that means is, okay, you have presented Bonnie Christian's idea about something, and you want to tell me about your aunt and uncle who have been living together for 30 years and are happy and never got married. So you're disagreeing with something. That's fine. Your aunt and uncle's story can certainly be part of that. But make sure it is reacting to what Bonnie Christian actually wrote, not to the overall subject. We need to have you doing that. You want to make sure that you're enhancing the text, not overshadowing it. With responses, I've occasionally had people just basically write a long story, and that's not what I'm asking you to do. Then any paper you write needs an introduction, that's the summary, body, and then the conclusion. In the conclusion, you have two options. You can wrap up the whole paper by giving an overall evaluation of the essay. Certainly in the last paragraph, And conclusions always have to wrap up the whole paper. Don't just end with some weird little detail. It needs to somehow represent or wrap up the whole of your paper. Because of that, you can give an overall evaluation, certainly. But because the author, Bonnie Christian, is a good writer, her conclusion isn't just some erroneous last detail that suddenly it's over and you're wondering, is that all there is? Is there another page that was left out? It wraps it up nicely. And so if you were to respond specifically to her conclusion and your response to what she only mentions in that conclusion, because of the way conclusions work, that would be fine too. So those are the jobs on an idea level you must do. Now, logical sequencing of ideas utilizing well-developed, unified, coherent paragraphs. Make sure that your paragraphs are developed. These aren't sketchy little paragraphs. We need a number of sentences for each one. Unified, each paragraph is developing one idea. Each paragraph in the body is presenting one idea or one set of related ideas of Bonnie Christian's in your response to that. That's what unified means. Unity is one. There's an inherent oneness to a paragraph. Coherence means it needs to hang together. It needs to flow. Incoherent means we can't follow it. It's all disjointed and there's holes in it and gaps, missing elements. Make sure that you have that going on. Now, at some point, this is the biggest hint I can give you. Once you're sure all your ideas are in place, we need to work on these elements: sophisticated, varied, and purposeful construction of sentences with a natural flow and rhythm. Once the ideas are in place, you now need to actually read this out loud slowly. Make sure it sounds good. Make sure it sounds good. Make sure if it sounds weird to you or doesn't make sense, fix it. You need to be concerned about word choices. Don't repeat the same word over and over like I do sometimes speaking. I noticed I used the word thing far too much. If I were on paper, I would be able to fix that. I would notice I had used thing multiple times. Plus, thing is generally not a great word anyway. I'm embarrassed that I use it so much. It tends to be very general or vague. So writing is beautiful because it's there. We can fix it now. It's not like talking where it's just out. So look at what you're speaking through, reading, what you've written, and note the words. Are these the best words, etc.? And then consistently correct grammar, spelling, punctuation. Reading out loud will help you greatly. Even if you don't know a gerund from a gerbil, you hear what you're writing. If it sounds strange, fix it, and you probably will fix grammar problems and other problems without even being able to identify what you did. I do want to mention you have 2 papers from me where I took great pains marking them. And this is a good time. What you're doing, read, devote yourself to some schooling. Those papers you should look at. I've marked them up. At the end of class, I always said, if you have any questions, come talk to me. I know my handwriting is horrible at times, but those papers you should look at. You'll notice there are certain mistakes I've marked. Like, for example, RO, that's a run-on sentence. Well, if you look at the correction symbols and terms chart, which I gave you a hard copy of in class and which is still posted in learning materials, you'll notice there's an RO on the list. And if you look at RO in the first column, it tells you in the second column that it is a run-on sentence. It briefly explains it. In the far right column, you'll notice there's bold page numbers. That is referring to your textbook. Your textbook, the one that we use every day, has a nice, concise section on grammar. And it would behoove you to look up those corrections, see the page number, and read their treatment of those items. It will help you to grow. I don't expect everything to change overnight, but I'd like you to make an effort at changing the errors that came up on previous papers and not simply doing them again. We want to get better as we go forward, and I'm here to help you, of course. hopefully this gives you what you need to know so that you can make a really good paper. And check the schedule. The next class session, you need to give it to me by email as an attachment with your file name in it. It's all in writing showing you how to do it. I did give you those guidelines for emails. So all of you will be emailing me at some point with the final draft. If you have questions regarding specifics, etc., you can certainly email me. I'm here to answer your questions, but I sent out some guidelines for sending emails, and I'd like you to follow those. Make sure that when you send me an email, don't just send me a paper, but give me some idea what it is you want me to look for. And I don't do general things. And please look at those directions I gave on emails. I think they're very concise. And you can, of course, email me, and always send your phone number with it. That way, if I'm looking at it, I think a phone call, we can resolve this. I'll give you a call, or I might even send you back an email and say, hey, get your paper, I'm going to call you, or something like that. So always put, if you're asking a question, you don't have to do this with your final papers being turned in, but send your email with your phone number so that I can call you if I need to. And as a final bowing out, I want to mention that an earlier session when I was discussing this, I showed you a very cheesy looking chart that I made. But just to remind you, your paper should look like this sort of. Introductory paragraphs, the summary, the body. We need at least 3 paragraphs to do the job. The word count, that's 3 paragraphs. You can have more. There's a range of, what was it, 500 to 800, I'm not right looking at, whatever it is. I put that there because I want you to be complete. If you have less than that word count, you probably need to give more detail, meaningful detail. This job you're being asked to do requires some writing. And then finally, there's that conclusion with 2 options. That might be a helpful final reminder as we go out. So that's all I want to say. I will catch you soon one way or another. God bless you. Stay well. Stay out of trouble. Bye.